The Boston Marathon, but chances are you never heard about the great Arcata to Ferndale cross-country kinetic sculpture race. Needless to say, this is no ordinary race, as Steve Fox found out.
It happens every year in April. Adult human beings build fantastic, fanciful racing machines, haul them up to a small town in Northern California, and then race those machines for 3 straight days over 37 miles of hard road and soft sand and across 3 stretches of open water. The race is exhausting, exhilarating, and, I'm told, great fun. Can you feel it? Can you feel the excitement building here in the town square in Arcata, California? Just moments before the beginning of the 8th annual Great Cross-Country Kinetic Sculpture Race, featuring this year about 90 different entries, including my team, which shall be known from henceforth as the Good Guys. The other entrants in the race featured lightweight construction, bicycle gears for propulsion, flotation equipment, and imaginative names like Obstreperous Opposition, Roach Coach, the Moose Mobile, Industrial Waste, and this vehicle.
Rolls canardly, that's rolls downhill, can hardly get up them.
What's your bet? How are you going to do?
We're going to finish.
You're going to finish, okay. Some entrants chose a historical motif, like this Viking ship. Others looked and moved like insects. And, of course, there was our vehicle, a 2,000-pound bus fitted with styrofoam underneath so we would float, hopefully. We may not have had the best engineering design, but nobody had better uniforms. Tuxedos for the 12 guys, French-made outfits for the dozen women in the pit crew. The bus was the creation of Hobart Brown, who founded the race as well.
Hobart, now, a prediction.
Yeah.
How are we going to do in this race?
Well, we're shooting for middle.
Shooting for middle?
Yeah,
okay.
Mediocre award. We've given up first place a long time ago.
Just looking for adequacy now.
Right. Okay. This is going to be a new. In fact, the big test today is we haven't had 15 people on board yet.
Just before the start of the race, we tried out the bus's elaborate and never-before-tested drive system.
3 days of this we're talking about.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Over water.
And then the magic moment, the start of the race, with participants dashing to their vehicles and sprinting across the starting line. Most participants, anyway.
All aboard!
50 feet into the race, our people-powered bus encountered crisis number 1. The left front wheel fell off. Only slightly daunted, we made ready to move on after quick repairs.
We are rolling now. No, we're not, actually. We're kind of just thrashing.
Of course, we were not the only vehicle that broke down, just, as it turned out, the one that broke down most often. Like when our entire propulsion system failed 200 feet into the 37-mile race.
I need some help here.
It was here that I first saw a demonstration of what passed for my team's motto, when in doubt, dance. After an hour's worth of unsuccessful work on the drive system, we decided to drag the 2,000-pound bus for the next 37 miles. But first, crisis number 3.
No steering! No steering!
During all this, the other racers had gotten ahead of us, miles ahead. They were already off the hard road and dragging their vehicles up the first set of sand dunes that we'd face over the next 3 days. Meanwhile, back at the bus,
I can't help but notice that we don't seem to be turning. Let's see. 7 feet this time. Crisis number 4.
the rest of the racers were now about 6 miles ahead of us, facing the toughest challenge of day 1, Dead Man's Hill. A 40-foot drop down a steep sand dune. We finally got going and made good time for a while until we got to the soft sand. There our bus became essentially a 2,000-pound brick when the steering system gave out once again and the wheels kept turning sideways, acting like sand plows. Why are we doing this, Ed?
I feel that the race is very important to a lot of people. You know, it's not the race of being a winner or loser. It's getting a common denominator of a lot of people together.
And together, all 30 of us managed to drag that bus down to the hard sand at the edge of the beach. It seemed like a victory at the time, even though all the other teams had long ago finished for the day, while we still had a 6-mile haul ahead. As we plodded along in the twilight, I couldn't help but think about all the things that had gone wrong today and wonder about what would happen tomorrow, when we had to find out if our bus would float or sink.
Oh, real good, Steve.
Yeah. Wait till you see the next 2 days.
I can't wait to find out if you finish the race, and we're going to find out right after this, so stay with us. I don't believe you did that.
I don't either.
Day 2 of the race began more or less just like day 1 ended, the other racers sprinting off into the distance while we made repairs. But at least we were still in the race. About 20 entrants had already dropped out. We finally got rolling and took off after the others, trying not to catch up with them, but rather to at least see them again before nightfall. A couple of miles ahead, a crowd had assembled to cheer on the racers as they tried to float across 2 miles of Humboldt Bay. Their methods varied greatly, as did their degrees of success.
It's the Moose-mobile going to ease on down the bay. I think it's
As the other teams hit the water, spectators gathered around the bus to discuss our chances.
Uh-oh.
You think it'll float?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Good, that's a good sign.
It's better because this is my best one.
Ah.
I want it to win.
You want it to win? Well, I do
Nice
too.
one.
I at least want it to float.
It's better.
Better. Better. Can't argue with that. Eventually, we couldn't put it off any longer and had to take the plunge. Amazingly enough, our 2,000-pound rolling disaster actually managed to stay above water, if not move forward under its own power.
We haven't exactly achieved forward movement yet, but we are floating, and we're taking whatever victories we can get.
The racers showed a lot of ingenuity in their methods of getting across the bay. Some paddling, some pedaling, one swimming with his craft in tow. We chose a more unconventional technique.
Right now we've employed, because of slight failure in the propeller system, we've employed the push rope.
The push rope.
Yeah, we're pushing that small boat up in front of us. It really adds a lot.
Not everyone made the crossing successfully, though to the surprise of all, we did. On the other side, yet one more stretch of sand dunes, 8 miles in all, lay ahead before we would reach the campsite where the racers would stay this night after traveling 18 miles. Amazingly, I had yet to hear any of my teammates complain, despite the fact that most of us were wet and all were exhausted. Everybody seemed to be having a terrific time during this ordeal, kind of like the early American settlers partying their way across the continent. This is not a battleground, although carousing all night and then sleeping on the driftwood-covered ground had created a number of walking wounded who huddled around campfires seeking comfort, or at least warmth. Despite the steadily increasing rain and 2 more river crossings today, one of my teammates was confident.
What's your bet? We're going to make it across here without tipping over?
Yeah, we'll make it.
Yeah, good. I like that. I like that.
We'll make it. We'll make it. You bet. After everything we've been through, you better believe we're going to make it.
We'll make it. We'll make it.
The first river crossing was relatively easy, just a short row across 200 feet of shallow water. Then came 3 miles of paved road. As usual, we were far behind the rest of the racers who had already crossed the Eel River and now faced the notorious slippery slope. We, meanwhile, were still negotiating the Eel River. Waiting for us on shore was the duly elected symbol of the race, Nicole Wood, the rutabaga queen.
I tell you, they've gone through a lot. I'm really proud of those guys. They're just great. They didn't even know they had it in them, and here they come.
She was right. There were times when we didn't think we'd make it. But here we were at Slippery Slope, a 25-foot hill of slick mud. Now, for a minute, it looked like we weren't going to get over the top. Gravity and the mud seemed just too powerful to defeat. But we'd come too far to give up simply because all the odds were against us. And after 20 minutes of struggle, 2 miles ahead, racers were crossing the finish line in Ferndale. The winners of the race had completed the course in 1 hour and 15 minutes, including time credits. But even those who finished far behind seemed happy. Finally, with a total elapsed time of 57 hours and 14 minutes, the bus approached the finish of our 37-mile odyssey.
You gotta be crazy to go 37 miles this way.
Why do all these people do this?
This is the first time in the 3 years I've been doing it that I really don't know. I don't think I ever want to do this again as long as I live.
But you'll probably be back.
I'll be back next year for sure.
You know, I got to tell you, I went into this race trying to be the neutral observer, you know, just report about it. But by the end of it, those people were friends of mine, which is the best
really
thing about
into it. You've got to be. I mean, I don't believe that you actually made it up that hill.
We didn't either.
Didn't know you had it in you.
Didn't know we had it. I think that's why people do it, because doing something difficult like that brings them closer together.
Going back next year?
Bye.